Hi, Zizaran here with another video, and there's been some drama in Path of Exile with a exploit surrounding the new ultimatum mechanic, and well, I mean, some fallout has happened. 20 users got banned for it, including some streamers, and I know a lot of people are curious about my take on it. So I just wanted to make a video talking about it and stuff like that for those that are curious about what I think about the current situation. Um, so first, let's show a little bit of like what the exploit was. You would engage with the survival mechanic in Ultimatum. I think it was something like you would have 5 people would stand outside the circle, killing things and preventing the timer from going up, and one person staying inside, and you could farm it for quite a while. And obviously, in Path of Exile, if you aren't aware, something like having a person with like a large amount of quantity, like quantity finding, and just using the party bonus for additional quantity, and then really stacking up your map with like delirium rewards and other things, it it makes like a very big loot explosion normally. And here is an example of the loot.
There we go.
Oh boy.
Oh. Oh.
1 FPS, boys!
Wait, what?
1
You
FPS!
survived?
That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff. I don't like engage with that type of stuff normally on like because I don't play softcore trade league, right? And doing this on solo self fun is completely impossible, and doing it on hardcore trade league is also very hard because you do randomly die even on these builds. I think somebody died during this, which is why one of them is gone. I have a little bit of a mixed take here because this isn't necessarily that different from a lot of the stuff people have been doing in the fracture map stuff in the past. Like you could fracture maps and get an insane amount of rewards. And this group of people, like MP and his friends, they do sort of farm like this pretty normally anyway. And that's not an exploit. That's just like creative use of game mechanics. There's clearly a line being drawn here because this is now considered a game exploit, and obviously, this is abusing the mechanic with doing something you're not supposed to do, which is running out, keeping the timer up, and abusing that to farm more. And obviously, this entire screen is obviously way more than we would normally farm ever. Even doing stuff like this, before it would be spread out more over an entire map with fracture farming. It's pretty insane, and it got hotfixed very, very quickly. There's a couple of posts about it. So it started with this video, which is basically just showing how it's done and, maybe encouraging people to use it a little bit. And that's not necessarily as crazy as you think, because there is a bit of a history in Path of Exile where, depending on the severity of the exploit, you don't necessarily get banned for it. They will just hotfix it. But either way, whenever this video went up, Chris Wilson replied saying, this was fixed a little while ago and team are looking into consequences. And then shortly after, earlier today, we learned of a bug in Ultimatum that allows players to generate excessive rewards. Shortly after its discovery, we deployed a hotfix that capped the amount of experience and items that ultimatums could yield. We have banned 20 accounts that abused this exploit multiple times. These bans will last until Ultimatum ends, and we will void the characters they made so that they and their items will not be transferred to their parent leagues. If you uncover an exploit in Path of Exile and abuse it to your benefit, we will ban you. So I've been playing Path of Exile for a long time now, and this is actually kind of surprising to me because there's been some exploits that they've banned for in the past. There was one where it was something with summon skeletons and beyond where you could infinitely farm beyond. This wasn't actually very profitable, but you could leave it on overnight and it would like add up, right? Because it would just slowly spawn beyond monsters. So you could have infinite amount of monsters in a map without having to do anything. There was another exploit they banned for, which was in Legacy League, and that was we had like league stones that would activate maybe 80% beyond, or like loads of extra exiles or loads of extra loot. And if you remove those while the map was opening, they would not expend a charge. So you would infinitely get these powerful things. Those are the ones they've banned for. Now, on the other hand, there have been some other exploits that they haven't banned for. Like, for example, in Bestiary League, you could split influenced items, which they very quickly said was not intended and was going to be fixed. And as soon as they said that, loads of people started doing it. Like, oh my god, let's get it done before it gets nerfed. And whenever that was explored, I was very quickly saying, don't use bugs in Path of Exile. You have a chance of getting banned. I know they don't always do it, but be careful. There was another exploit as well in Harvest. So this was using the Harvest fracture. You would multi-mod. Say you were trying to fracture Merciless, right? That's a very popular target for fracturing. You would try to fracture Merciless on a weapon. But in this case, the way it would work is you would get the Merciless, then use multi-mod, and then craft 2 random prefixes, use the fracture, and it didn't matter what it hit because you would just remove the craft afterwards, and that actually worked. And then it would force the fracture to move over to the Merciless. And those 2 last ones that I mentioned, those were not banned for. And a lot of streamers did those too. I was actually myself going to do the last Harvest one because I was like, well, it seems like they don't actually ban for these, which I think they should. I actually was not able to do the exploit, but I was intending to. I just want to be transparent with that. Because I was sort of like, are they just gonna let us use these things? I don't think they should, but I don't know, I guess it was a bit of FOMO. So I was planning on using it. I think if I had the chance, I probably would have used that exploit myself. And obviously there is a difference in power here, right? There was also another exploit. This is probably the mildest thing, and there were different ways of using it. There was in the last thing, if you did not talk to Ushabi, you will get a warning, or sorry, a message when you open the map saying enter Grove, right? So it would let you know the harvest was there. I used this. I didn't open maps or not, but I did know at the start of the map if there was going to be a grove there. Some people use this a little further where they would spam open maps. They would just enter, no harvest, leave, which is obviously a different way of using it. But as you can see, there's different levels here of exploits. A lot of people have been asking me, should people get banned? What do you think? Should streamers get banned? Should streamers get preferential treatment? And no, in my opinion, they shouldn't. I think people should be, if anything, it should be stricter against streamers because that set a lot of examples. I wish that they would be stricter on this. And I personally do like this line. If you cover an exploit in Path of Exile and abuse it for your own benefit, we will ban you. And I hope that this is a thing moving forward because I don't think players should ever feel like, am I stupid for not abusing something when it's found? I don't think that's right. And I felt like that in the past because I felt like other people were getting rewarded for using exploits when I wasn't doing them. And the first one I was going to try to use was the harvest one. And I've always been very clear when people have shown me an exploit. Usually I'll never talk about on stream how it's done because I don't want to encourage it. There were several ones in Heist as well where you could for the first 3 days of the league, if you had the sixthing prophecy, you could use this infinitely in the harbor bridge. So you got infinite sixthlings. This still costs jewelers, but it would be 50 to 100 jewelers per sixthling. There was another abuse case in Heist as well, where every time you had the level 3 reward chamber in the Val Temple, you would also get a mirror shard. So there are different levels here, and it's actually a hard thing to decide. When is it too far? When is it just something where GGG fucked up and it's a little bit more power than you should have, and when is it severe like this case? So it's a difficult one, but I would rather they err on the side of just don't exploit things. And I think this should be a good message to the Path of Exile community, myself included, where if you do find something, report it, don't use it, and move on. And I think that is the way we should do things, because some things are very clearly not intended. Some things are very clearly not intended. For me, that's how I feel about it. As for the people that were banned, there were several streamers banned and a total of 20 accounts that had hard abused this exploit. It's a hard one because it hasn't been done like this always in the past, and it wasn't necessarily that more profitable than other things they could do. It wasn't like they were making 5 times the amount they normally were, because this might seem like a shock to people that are playing solo, but they are making that much currency. They could even get multiple headhunters per map. So it's a tough one. Where do you draw the line? And right now, the group involved, it's particularly popular to drag them and shit on them right now because there was already some drama around the league launch where Empyrean famously said life isn't fair, and he got a lot of shit for that. And ever since, people have been very, very toxic, and it's very popular on the internet to like really go hard on shit like that. I obviously had a very, very different reaction to the streamer queue and stuff like that, but I don't like to see anyone getting a large amount of hate, because it's the amount you get is usually never justified. Like obviously some backlash is to be expected, but whenever something like this happens on the internet, you get a large amount of hate. You get a large amount of messages, you get a large amount of people, like obviously some there's a lot of memes and stuff like that aren't that bad, but it's hard. It's really shit because people go in hard, and I don't like to see terrible things happen to pretty much anyone except people that put pineapple on pizza, which obviously there's a very heavy line there to be dragged. Kind of crazy how hard people are going. There's like 4,400 comments in this thread, and a large amount of them are obviously shitting on them. But I would personally much more be in favor of Path of Exile being very clear. Just don't ban things. You are 90% chance going to get banned for things. Obviously, not if you do something on accident, but if you know you're forcing a client crash and you end up with like 30 exalts more, I don't know. There's a lot of things where, yeah, if you're doing something repeatedly, you probably should get banned for it. And people are gonna have very strong opinions. I just wanted to share mine. It's not necessarily the right take, but feel free to let me know what you think about how I feel about it. If you feel differently, there's not really any like clear right or wrong here. Like I'm sure other people have other better takes than mine, but I wanted to share it. And as for the ban, they are banned for the duration of Ultimatum. And to the best of my knowledge, the way bans work in Path of Exile is that it's very account specific. And again, to the best of my knowledge, you are welcome to make a new account, buy MTX on that account, and continue playing and streaming on that. I think there's very few cases of Path of Exile going, you're banned, you are not welcome to stream or play our game again. I can't remember, maybe there's a single case of that from like 2013 or 14, but either way, let me know. Some of you like the videos, and more importantly, try to die less than I do.